The child in the crater, the battlefield was silent now. But the smoke still rose from broken machines and burning trees. The war between humans and the alien race called the Virak had left deep scars on this jungle moon. Bodies lay half-covered in ash, and the stench of plasma and blood mixed in the air like poison. Private Grant Ellis stepped over shattered metal, his boots crunching debris with every step. His uniform was torn, face smeared with mud. His squad had moved forward to secure the next ridge, but Grant had heard something different, a soft cry. Not mechanical, not wounded soldier kind, something weak and small. He followed the sound down a slope, through broken trees, to a deep crater in the earth. There, at the center, a pod lay cracked open, its armor burned and covered in moss. The emergency lights blinked faintly. Inside was no weapon, no bomb, but a child, alien in form, with lavender skin and large black eyes. Her body was small, barely the size of a human toddler. But her armor was Virak tech, and her thin hands clutched a data shard tightly. Her lip trembled, and her breathing was ragged. Grant's first thought was protocol. He should call it in, alert command. Let the higher-ups handle it. But the child looked up at him, not with hate, not with fear, but with tears. She whispered something in Virak language, then coughed, her tiny voice no louder than wind. "Help, please." Grant's rifle lowered slowly. He knelt beside the pod, heart pounding. This was the enemy. A Virak child, the same species that had killed hundreds of his people. But she wasn't holding a weapon. She was bleeding, scared, and very much alone. Behind him, the sound of patrol drones echoed through the trees. If they saw her, they'd vaporize the pod without question. He glanced at the child again, and without thinking, pulled her gently into his arms. Her skin was warm and trembling. He wrapped his coat around her, hiding her form. The drones flew overhead, lights scanning the crater. Grant turned his back to them, shielding her with his body. One drone stopped, light turning red. It had scanned her, a blast shot toward them. Grant twisted his body, taking the hit across his shoulder. He dropped to one knee, biting his lip to stay silent. The coat smoldered. But the child was untouched. The drones passed by, unaware she still lived. She looked up at him, wide-eyed, and reached for his burned shoulder. She made a soft, sorrowful sound. Then she said a single word in broken English. "Father." Grant froze. She didn't know who he was, but maybe she didn't care. He looked around the crater, realized he couldn't leave her here. Command would ask questions, and someone would come back to finish the job. He moved quickly, wrapping her tighter, and began heading toward an old outpost nearby. It was off-grid, unused since the first month of war. As he limped through the jungle, her small fingers clung to his collar. From the shadows high above, unseen, a dark shape moved, through alien eyes. A figure watched the human carry her daughter into the forest. Commander Vireya, elite warrior and high matron of the Virak, had tracked her child's signal for days. She had feared the worst, but she had not expected this. A human, injured, risking his life for her child. She said nothing. Her ship remained cloaked. Her soldiers silent. She just stared, confusion and fury mixing with something deeper. She didn't know who this man was, but she would find out, and when she did, she would decide what he truly was: enemy, thief, or something far more dangerous, a protector. Asterisk, the enemy watches. The war had taught Commander Vireya to feel nothing, not for dying soldiers, not for falling cities, not even for the cries of her own people. But the moment she saw the human cradling her child, something inside her cracked. From the bridge of her stealth ship hidden in the planet's upper atmosphere, she stared at the feed over and over again. The security drone had caught everything. That caught everything. Broken pod, the bleeding child, and the human shielding her with his body. Her warriors stood silent behind her, afraid to speak. The room was tense, filled with the soft hum of alien machinery and the flicker of red lights. "That man," Vireya whispered. "Find out who he is." The crew moved fast, pulling from military databases. The human's name appeared, Private Grant Ellis, survivor. Of the jungle assault, low rank, no family, no medals, no command, just a soldier. But she had seen more. She had seen how gently he held her daughter, how he took the blast without blinking, and how her daughter, the last of her blood, looked at him with trust. She called him Father, Varaya said in her native tongue, the words heavy. One of her lieutenants, a tall, scarred male named Jackal, stepped forward. He is human, Commander. He may be using the child as bait. No, she snapped. He didn't know we were watching. She stood tall, eyes locked on the holoscreen. Her child, Cyril, had survived, but she was in the arms of the species Varaya had sworn to destroy, and yet the human hadn't destroyed her. He had saved her. Varaya walked slowly to the front of the bridge, her dark armor glinting under the dim lights. She had led 20 successful invasions, broken more than one empire. But this moment felt heavier than all of that. She gave the order. No one is to touch the human, not until I speak to him myself. Far below, in a half-ruined shelter hidden in thick jungle brush, Grant sat near a makeshift fire. Cyril lay wrapped in fabric beside him, still weak but breathing more evenly now. He had cleaned a gash on her side with stolen med gel, fed her scraps of rations soaked in water. She had eaten with quiet eyes, and rested with her hand still clutching his torn sleeve. He should have called HQ, but something inside told him not to. Maybe it was the way Cyril didn't cry when thunder rolled above them. Maybe it was the small way she smiled when he made silly faces. Maybe he was just tired of killing. Grant leaned back against the cold wall, watching the entrance. His shoulders still throbbed from the blast. The wound was deep, but not deadly. He could survive if he stayed hidden. Suddenly, Cyril opened her eyes. Her voice was soft. You are not soldier. Grant gave a tired laugh. You noticed. You are Heart, she said slowly, searching for words. Good Heart. He didn't answer right away. He hadn't been called good in a long time. Cyril reached into her small armor chest plate and pulled out the data shard. She handed it to him. He took it, curious. What is this? She pointed to it. My name, my voice, memory. It was everything. Her identity, heritage, even bloodline. Grant realized something. This wasn't just a random alien kid. She was someone important. A daughter of rank, maybe even royalty, which meant someone was probably looking for her. He sighed, knowing what came next. If he was found, he'd be labeled a traitor. If the Virak found him, he might be executed. But if he gave her up, she would die. No one's taking you, he whispered. To her, I swear. She blinked slowly and curled against his side again. Above, Varaya stood alone in her private chamber, staring at a small hologram. It was her and Cyril before the war, before the burning of colonies, before peace was lost. She touched the image softly, then turned to the soldier at the door. Prepare my armor. I will go alone. Alone, my lady? Yes, she said coldly. If he had wanted my daughter dead, she'd already be ashes. But he might want ransom, the guard warned. Varaya narrowed her eyes. Then he should not have taken a plasma shot for her. The room fell quiet. Again, the hunt was over. Now it was time for a meeting, not between enemies, but between a human who broke the rules to save a life, and a mother who had never expected mercy from his kind. Blood and mercy rain fell hard on the jungle, drumming like war drums against the leaves and the metal shell of the ruined outpost. Grant sat in silence, his eyes half closed, holding Cyril close to his chest. She was burning with fever, her small body twitching from time to time. He had used all the med gel. The rations were almost gone, and the cold air was creeping in through every crack in the walls. His lips were chapped, his shoulders still bleeding beneath the bandage. But he didn't care about himself anymore. Only the little alien girl in his arms mattered. She whimpered. Again, a weak sound that broke his heart. He pulled her tighter, whispering, You're safe. I got you. I'm right here. He didn't know if she understood the words, but his voice calmed her. Suddenly, static crackled in the corner. The long-dead radio sparked to life just for a second. Then a voice came through, smooth, female, but cold like a blade. "Human," it said in perfect English. "You have my daughter." Grant jerked to his feet, holding Cyril tight. He scanned the shadows, no one there. The voice continued. "You shielded her, even took harm for her." He swallowed hard. "Who are you?" "I am Varaya," the voice said. "Her mother, her blood, and I am not your enemy yet." Grant felt a chill run through him. He had heard her name before. Stories of an alien warrior who never lost a battle. A name whispered with fear. "You want her back?" he asked slowly. "Yes," Varaya replied. "But not if it means her death. Tell me, human, why did you protect her?" Grant looked down at Cyril's face. Her eyes were closed, her lips dry. "Because no one else would," he said. "Because I've seen enough dead kids on both sides." There was a pause, the rain filling the silence. "I am coming," Varaya finally said. "Alone. If you lie to me, I will know. If you try to run, I will find you." Then the signal cut out. Hours passed, the storm raged harder, and Grant grew weaker. His wounds were infected. Cyril had stopped responding. He held her like a father would, even though they were from different worlds. He didn't hear the footsteps at first, but then the door opened, not kicked, not blasted, just pushed gently. A tall alien figure stepped in, armor shining faintly in the stormlight. Varaya, her eyes were sharp and violet, her features regal and cold. But when she saw her daughter limp in Grant's arms, her face broke. For the first time, without a word, she dropped her weapon and crossed the room. Grant tensed but didn't move. She knelt, not as a warrior, but as a mother. Her long fingers brushed Cyril's forehead. "She is burning," she said softly. "She needs real care. Then help her." Grant whispered, "Please." Varaya looked at him, her face unreadable. "You could have killed her. You had every reason to hate us, but you didn't." Grant gave a tired smile. "Maybe I just wanted to feel human again." Varaya pulled a small injector from her armor and pressed it to Cyril's neck. The girl flinched, then relaxed. Her breathing steadied, color returning to her cheeks. "She live," Varaya said quietly. "Because of you." They sat in silence as thunder rumbled outside. "I have done terrible things in this war," Varaya admitted, "but seeing you risk your life for my daughter, it makes me question everything." Grant looked at her. "So what now? Are we still enemies?" She didn't answer, but instead reached out, offering her hand. Grant stared at it for a long moment, then took it. It wasn't peace, not yet, but it was something stronger than a treaty. It was trust born in blood. Above the jungle, cloaked ships waited, Viric warriors tracking their commander, unsure why she had gone alone. Below, human scanners picked up strange energy signals, preparing to launch search parties. And in the middle of it all, inside a broken building with dripping ceilings and muddy floors, an alien mother and a human soldier sat together, bound not by war, but by mercy. Asterisk. The meeting, the air between them was heavy, not with anger, but with something stranger. Commander. Varaya stood only a few feet from the human who had once been her sworn enemy. Her daughter now slept between them, wrapped in old fabric and bathed in warmth from a dying fire. Grant kept his rifle at his side, but his grip was loose. His fingers shook not from fear, but from exhaustion. He didn't speak first, Varaya did. "You fed her human food," she said, her voice low, almost amused. "That could have killed her." He gave a tired laugh. "I didn't exactly have a royal menu." She stepped closer, one hand on her hip, armor wet from the storm. Her sharp eyes scanned the room, taking in every corner of the crumbling shelter. "You chose this," she said slowly. "This cold place, this pain, all for a child not your own." Grant met her gaze. "I didn't care what species she was. She was scared, bleeding, and alone." Varaya's lips tightened. "She is Viric. Blood, my blood. One of the last children born during the war." Grant looked down at Cyril, her tiny hand curled near her cheek. "She's more than blood now," he said. "She's a reason." Varaya paused, then walked to the far wall, where the rain dripped through a crack in the roof. She rested her hand against the stone, her back to him. "I hated your kind," she said quietly. "I trained to kill you before I even saw one of you in person." "I could say the same," Grant replied. "But hating you didn't stop your daughter from crying in my arms." For a long moment, they said nothing. The storm outside began to fade, replaced by the quiet dripping of water from leaves and steel. "I should take her now," Virea said at last. "Fly her back to my stronghold where she belongs." "You could," Grant said. "But she screamed the whole way because right now, she thinks I'm her only family." Virea turned slowly, her face unreadable. Her eyes weren't glowing with power now, but with something more human doubt. "She called you father," she whispered, almost accusingly. "That word. It doesn't exist in our culture the way you use it. But she said it to you." Grant nodded. "I didn't tell her to." Silence again, thick and strange, then without warning. A deep rumble shook the ground beneath them. They both reached for weapons at the same time until they realized it wasn't an attack. Outside the shelter, a human patrol ship descended slowly from the clouds. "Damn," Grant muttered. "They must have tracked my last beacon." He looked at Virea, panic rising in his throat. "They'll kill her if they see her. You have to go." But Virea didn't move. Instead, she stepped in front of Cyril, pulling a small blade from her belt. "I will not leave her," she said. "Not to strangers with orders." "Neither will I," Grant said. Standing beside her, the patrol lights flickered outside. Then came voices loud, armed, alert. "Sergeant." The signals coming from inside that shelter. They said, "Enemy contact, stay sharp." Virea glanced at Grant. "If they shoot, I will kill them." He gave her a nod. "I'd help," before the patrol entered. Grant moved fast. He picked up Cyril, covered her face with his coat, and stood near the doorway, blocking their view. Two soldiers stepped in, rifles raised. Grant shouted first, "Stand down, there's a civilian in here." The sergeant hesitated, seeing the child-shaped lump in Grant's arms. "Is that a survivor?" Grant interrupted. "From a refugee crash. No weapons, no danger." Behind him, Virea stayed in the shadows, knife still drawn, breath still held. The soldiers exchanged looks, then lowered their rifles. "We'll report it." But HQ might want answers." Grant nodded. "Tell them I'll file a full report once I return. I need medical evac." The sergeant gave him a strange look, but said nothing more. As the patrol stepped out, Virea finally let out a breath. "You're willing to lie to your own command," she said. "Why?" Grant didn't look back. "Because Cyril's not a weapon. She's a life worth protecting." Virea stepped beside him. "Perhaps you are too." The patrol ship lifted off without incident, leaving the jungle quiet again. Inside the shelter, a human and an alien mother stood shoulder to shoulder. Their hands were still armed, their past still heavy, but something had changed. For the first time in the war, the battlefield had not ended in blood. It had ended in understanding. A proposal across species. The moon was quiet now, but the peace was fragile, like glass balanced on a blade. Grant sat at the edge of a small alien ship, staring out at the dense jungle that had once tried to kill him. Behind him, inside the vessel, the child he had protected, Cyril, was sleeping on a padded bed. Her breathing was steady, her fever finally broken. He touched his shoulder gently, the wound wrapped in high-grade viric biofiber. It pulsed warmly, healing faster than human tech ever could. They had taken him in, not as a prisoner, but as something stranger, an honored guest, and her Virea, the feared war leader, the so-called Mother of Blades, now stood beside him, arms crossed, face calm. "You look tired," she said, breaking the silence. Grant didn't look at her. "I've been running, hiding, and bleeding for 4 days. Of course I'm tired." Virea let out a short breath, something between a laugh and a sigh. "You could have handed her over, let your people take her. You didn't." He glanced at her. "I didn't do it for medals." "I know," she said, stepping closer. "That's why I brought you here. Grant turned fully now, eyes narrowed. Why? What do you want from me? Viraya studied him, her expression unreadable. Cyril sees you as family. You saved her when no one else would. You gave her something I couldn't, warmth in the middle of war. I didn't plan any of this. He said, voice quiet. I just ... Did what felt right. She nodded. And what feels right now? Grant looked back at the trees, the smoke still rising far in the distance where human bases operated. He had gone too far to return, too much blood behind him now. I don't know anymore, he said honestly. Viraya stepped forward, standing directly in front of him now. Her voice was soft but not weak. Then let me offer something, she said, not as a commander but as a mother. Grant raised a brow. I'm listening. I want you to stay, she said, not just in this ship, not just in this forest, but with us, with her. Grant blinked, caught off guard. Stay? What are you saying? She trusts you, Viraya said. And I have no male guardian to stand beside her in our culture. She needs one. I need one. Grant laughed. Nervously, are you asking me to be a father figure? She stepped even closer, her voice lower. I am asking you to become something rare, a bridge between our worlds, a protector, a partner. Grant took a step back, his mind spinning. This isn't some battlefield deal. She added, this is a proposal across species, across pain. He stared at her, confused, overwhelmed, but not afraid. You want me to stay, he said slowly. Even after what I am, a human? A soldier from the enemy side? Yes, she said firmly, because Cyril smiles in her sleep when you hold her hand. Because you faced death without flinching for her. Because I believe peace must start somewhere. Grant looked down, breathing deeply. Inside the ship, Cyril stirred and sat up. Her small voice called out, Father? He turned, walking in and kneeling by her side. I'm here, he said, brushing her soft hair back. She smiled, sleepy eyes shining. Viraya entered behind him, arms folded, but her face softer than he had ever seen it. Your people will send search parties, she said. They will demand your return. Grant looked at her. And if I don't go back? They will call you a deserter, maybe worse. He thought for a long moment, then said, Then I guess I've already crossed the line. She nodded slowly. Then cross it fully. Hours later, in the deep halls of the Viric sanctuary, Grant stood before the council of elders, tall alien figures cloaked in silver and black. They looked at him with suspicion, some with anger, but none spoke. Viraya stood beside him, proud and calm. This human saved my daughter, she said, voice strong. He gave her what none of our warriors could, protection, without asking anything in return. The room remained quiet. Then she added, I name him Guardian of the Air. Gasps echoed. Elder voices whispered in shock. It was a title never given to outsiders. Grant stood still, unsure if they would attack or accept him. But when Cyril entered, walking slowly with small hands raised toward him, no one dared stop her. She took his hand, looked up and whispered, Stay with us. And in that moment, Grant realized he already had asterisk between two worlds. The first shot came before the sun fully rose. Grant heard the blast echo through the cliffs. Sharp and sudden, the Viric warriors on guard instantly took formation, weapons drawn from the council balcony. Viraya stood frozen, her eyes narrowed, her voice cut through the air. They've found us, outside the sanctuary. Human dropships cut through the sky like knives. Their engines roared over the jungle, scattering birds and shaking the trees. Cyril clutched Grant's leg, eyes wide. He scooped her up and looked at Viraya. How did they find us so fast? Viraya didn't answer, but her fists clenched. Her people had trusted her, and now warships hovered at their gates. It's me, Grant said quietly. They tracked me. No, she replied. They followed what they fear, peace. Second blast hit the western wall. Viric warriors roared to life, not in panic but in duty. Grant turned to her. Let me speak to them. I can make them stand down. You're no longer one of them, she said sharply. They will not listen. I have to try, Grant insisted. If I don't, they'll kill everyone here, including Cyril. Virea hesitated. Her mind flashed with visions of blood and fire, her daughter screaming. Finally she nodded. You go, but you do not go alone. She stepped forward, placed her curved blade in his hand, and touched his chest. You go as my guardian. The human Marines approached the main gate with heavy rifles and confused eyes. Sir, one muttered, we've got visual on an alien city fully active. Could be a trap. Then one shouted, we have movement, out of the mist. Grant walked forward, both hands raised, armor dirtied but alive. The soldiers froze, recognizing his face instantly. That's Private Ellis, one said. He went EMEA 5 days ago, behind Grant. Viric guards watched silently from the walls, but no weapons were raised. The human commander stepped forward, helmet still on. Ellis, explain yourself. Are you being held hostage? No, Grant replied. I'm here by choice. That stirred the group. Where's the alien child we tracked? The commander asked. She's safe, Grant said, and under my protection. Another soldier spoke. You crossed sides. Ellis, that's treason. No, he said, his voice hardening. That's humanity. He stepped closer. Listen to me. We've been killing each other so long. We've forgotten what it's like to protect life. The commander raised a hand. You're emotionally compromised. You're blind, Grant snapped. That girl, she didn't shoot at anyone. She was left to die. One of the younger soldiers whispered. Is she a civilian? Yes, Grant answered. And she's got more courage than half the people here. The commander didn't move. Orders are orders. Ellis, stand aside. Behind Grant, a shadow moved. Virea, fully armored, stepped into the light. Her blade was sheathed, but her presence was thunder. You will not touch my daughter, she said. Not without passing through me first. Guns were raised instantly. Grant stepped between them. Arms wide. If any of you fire, he said, you'll have to shoot through me. There was silence, thick as stone. Then Cyril's voice rang out, small but clear from behind. Please, she said, stepping forward from behind Virea. Don't hurt him. The soldiers stared, confused. Some lowered their weapons. The commander looked at the child, at the human who risked his life for her, at the alien warrior who didn't strike. And something changed. He gave a slow nod, then lifted his helmet. His face was scarred, but tired. Maybe. The war ends here, he said quietly. Hours passed, but no bullets were fired. Human forces withdrew. Reports sent to higher command, mixed with confusion. Virea's sanctuary held its breath. Grant stood on the balcony as the sun finally rose. Its light touched alien stone and human skin the same. Virea joined him, her expression unreadable. You changed something today, she said. Maybe. Not the galaxy, but this. He looked at her. Will they come back? Always, she said. But next time we won't be hiding. Cyril ran to them, wrapping her arms around both. Her laughter was quiet, but real, and for a moment, between two worlds, there was no war, only family. The claim the stars over the jungle moon looked different now. No longer cold or distant, they felt like witnesses. Grant stood alone near the edge of a glowing cliff, wind brushing against his skin. Below, the alien sanctuary shone in soft blues and silvers, alive with quiet peace. It had been 7 days since the humans left. 7 days without a shot fired. 7 days without looking over his shoulder. But peace was a fragile thing. He had heard the whispers on both sides. Some humans called him a traitor. Some Viric called him a trespasser. But one voice drowned them all. Father. Cyril's voice, soft and certain, echoed from behind. He turned and smiled as she ran into his arms, wrapping her arms around his waist. You're awake early, he said, lifting her slightly. Mother is waiting, she whispered. She told me today is important. He raised an eyebrow. Did she? Cyril nodded, eyes glowing. She said today she claims you. Grant froze. She what? But Cyril just giggled and ran off down the path. leaving him with more questions than answers. Inside the high hall of the Viric sanctuary, the light was softer than usual. The air smelled of flowers, fresh metal, and something ceremonial. Virea stood at the center, wearing robes instead of armor. Her face was calm, but her eyes held fire. When Grant stepped inside, the crowd fell silent. Virea raised her hand, speaking not in command, but in truth. "This man," she said, voice ringing through the chamber, "shielded my child from harm, not knowing who she was. He bled for her. He lied to his own kind to protect her. He faced both armies with only his body between them." The crowd remained still. Some whispered, some stared, some dared to hope. "He did not act out of duty, or ambition, or politics," she continued. "He acted from heart, and from that heart came something I had not seen in years. Mercy." Grant stood tall, unsure what was coming, unsure what to say. Then Virea turned toward him. Stepping down from the platform, "You are not one of us by blood," she said, stopping just before him, "but you became one of us by fire." She reached out her hand, not in battle, but in bond. "I claim you," she said clearly, "before my people and before the stars, as Cyril's guardian, as my equal, as part of this home." Grant's breath caught in his chest. All his life, he had been a number, a soldier, a tool in a bigger machine. But now here, he was being seen as a man, as a protector, as something more. "I don't know if I deserve this," he whispered. Virea leaned in, her voice softer. "That's how I know you do." He took her hand. The hall erupted, not in war cries, but in something rare and beautiful. A roar of unity that night. Under starlight, the three of them sat around a quiet fire. Cyril lay curled beside them, half asleep, still clutching the data shard she once used as a pillow. Virea sat beside Grant, closer than ever before. "You know," he said, "when I first saw her in that crater I thought she might die." "She almost did," Virea replied. "But she didn't, because of you." He looked at her, eyes reflecting the fire. "And I almost lost myself in the war." "You didn't," she said. "Because of her." They sat in silence, the kind of silence that feels safe. Finally, Grant asked, "What happens now?" Virea looked out into the dark. "Now? We teach her both worlds, your kindness, my strength. We raise her together, not as human or Viric, but something better." Grant smiled. "You really think they'll let us live like this?" She leaned her head on his shoulder. "Let them try to stop us." And so, the soldier who once had nothing found himself claimed not by war, but by love. Not by command, but by choice. And in the heart of a war-torn galaxy, where hate had burned for decades, one human, one alien mother, and one small child built something no weapon could destroy. A family.